Hi, and welcome to Tools Friday with FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY. My name is Ben, and I will be your host today for this week's episode. As you all know, FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY is an organization that promotes cybersecurity awareness, and the Tools Friday series has been part of the events that we publish content regarding various cybersecurity tools. And of course, some of these tools, as we all know, are free. Some of them are open source, and most of them are commercial license based softwares or tools. And over the weeks and months since we started this episode, most of our tools has been geared towards penetration testing, bug bounty, and blue teaming, for example, EDRs, and other blue teaming tools like Trail, which we have also published the video here on our YouTube channel to demonstrate how you can install these tools and of course use them in your various cybersecurity learning process or journey. So this week we decided to shift the paradigm as we know that FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY is all about coding in cybersecurity in the aspect of coding and offensive security. So when we talk about offensive security, we're also talking about penetration testing and bug bounty. And computer forensic is also a part of the information we promise that we'll be disclosing when it comes to our cybersecurity awareness in our organization. And the last but not the least is also information security. So these are the core training which we chose that will be demonstrating at FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY. So for this week, we decided to pick up something different in terms of the tools and demonstrate this tool as a tool you can use to get yourself equipped with knowledge on forensic investigation when it comes to Windows-based operating system or the Windows server. So you understand how it is done using this open source or free tools. Learn how you can image a registry file or the registry storage in your Windows operating system. And of course, extract those files and analyze these files to understand if those files are standalone malwares or corrupt files that can infect the system, and upload them to various tools or online platforms that are able to analyze malware files and give you information in terms of the detection mechanism that has been reported about this malware or how they propagate in getting various network or infrastructure infected. So without wasting much of your time, let's get started with this week's episode. So on this week's episode, the tool we'll be discussing about is the Windows Registry Recovery. This tool is an open source and free software developed by Mitec. And Mitec is an organization based in Czech, also known as Czech here, based on its domain name extension. That's how we deduce that this organization operates from the Czech Republic. It has been known to develop a myriad of free forensic tools for cybersecurity professionals, and they've been good at what they do. I think they probably did this to help newbies or those who are not yet financially stable to pay for commercial license softwares to learn how to use these softwares in carrying out various cybersecurity events. So Mitec has been an awesome organization, and they also have a section of the organization where you need to donate. So please, when you visit their platform and you have some dollars to tip them, please do not hesitate to do that. They are very good and they are very awesome. So this tool, which is the Windows Registry software, is one of them, which we'll be demonstrating today. According to the banner information that is disclosed when we operate this tool, it states that the tool is free for private and individual use. So if you're going to use this tool for your private training or private forensic or image registry recovery or backup, this tool, basically you can use it as a free tool. But still on the same platform, which is their website, there is a section or a button where it indicates that you can order now. So I believe the order now button specifies that for those who intend to use this tool for commercial based purposes, they have to pay a certain fee. So that aspect of the tool, we did not try it in terms of the order now button. So we do not have idea what is the procedures or what is the content of this paid version of the software. Okay. But if you think you want to try the commercial license based of this Windows Registry Recovery software, then please do not hesitate to click that button as well. So the Mitec Windows Registry Recovery provides the functionality to back up Windows registry files, data, and BCD of all current system users. So when we talk about BCD, BCD is the boot configuration data. So this data is firmware independent and is the database that contains the boot time configuration information of the Windows operating system or the Windows server in this case, if you're dealing with a Windows server. Okay, so Mitec provides that functionality. And if you're familiar with Windows XP, Windows XP use the boot.ini, and that file is responsible for the system boot up. If that particular file is deleted, definitely the system is not going to operate optimally. So it will require you to either restore or repair the boot.ini file in Windows.xp. But since the invention of the Windows Vista, if you're familiar with the Windows Vista operating system by Microsoft, down to the current versions of the Windows, which is the Windows 11, Microsoft shifted from the boot.ini to the BCD. So the BCD is an advanced version of boot.ini file that is found in Windows XP. Also, the Windows Registry Recovery supports the following OS versions of Windows: the Windows 9 XX versions, the Windows NT. So when you talk about Windows NT, we're talking about the new technology. It supports that. You can also use the software on Windows Server 2000. You can use it on Windows XP. You can also operate this registry recovery software on Windows Server 2003, Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 10. So these are the current versions which you can use this registry recovery software on to back up the registry files. So the registry files can be exported as a regedit 4 or CSV. So when you hear about regedit, so this is regedit is register edit. So whenever you run this in the Windows R command terminal, this is where you can access all the registry files, which are very vital or essential for the Windows operating system to operate optimally. So corrupting any of those registry files definitely will corrupt the operating system. It also supports the export of this data if you want to analyze this data into CSV. So when you talk about CSV, we know that CSV is the comma separated values. So it's a simple text file format for data that are in tabular formats, right? And of course, we know that to view CSV files, we can use softwares or applications like the Excel sheet to view these data and how they are populated in the tabular form. Also, to download this tool, you have to visit this website that is here on the presentation. Okay, so that's how you have access to the tool. The WRR here is implies the software you are trying to access is the Windows Registry Recovery, and the .cz means it's the domain. So instead of .com, they are using .cz, indicating that the domain resides in the Czech Republic. So let's have an overview of the menu of this software. When you export the registry files, what you are supposed to see for each structure of the registry files you have exported. So for each registry files, we have the file information. So this is an overview of the file that has been exported. So when you hear about file information, if you're a forensic investigator, you know when you image a hard disk or you image the registry files using other softwares like Autopsy or FTK, you have to generate what we call hashes. So these hash values are very essential to indicate if the file has been corrupted. So let's say you image a file or you image a hard disk, and there has been an altering of the content of this content. The hash value is going to change. And as a forensic investigator, you have what we call the evidence form. This evidence form is where you indicate the information about the process you took in gathering the evidence which you want to investigate, right? So also in this evidence form, you have to write down the hash values, the information when this was imaged, and the content that was imaged. And of course, the chain of custody form indicates how this evidence was handled, who was the one that did the evidence collection, and who took the evidence to the lab. So all these things are procedures when you want to carry out this imaging, right? So this file information will also indicate the hash values and the time when this registry recovery backup was done. So should in case there has been a change, the information will alter. The information you will now be seeing will be different from the information which you backed up, because of course, when you want to review the same file, you have to use the software, right? To view the backup of the registry files which you have imaged. So that's one part of the menu. So for the Security Record Explorer, so this displays all security tools of the registry, such as the usage counter, the owner SID, the group SID. So if you're familiar with SIDs, you should know these are unique identifiers, right? So they are called security identifiers. They are unique to each individual's or account on that computer. So let's say you have the admin and you have Ben or you have FIXITGEARWARE on the computer. Each of these persons mentioned or each of these users mentioned would have their unique SID. And of course, if those accounts belong to a group, they will also have their unique SID in that group. So when you click on the Security Record Explorer menu using the Windows Registry Recovery, this is where you find this information. It also indicates the SACL and the DACL. So when we talk about SACL, right, we're talking about the System Access Control List. So this is where the audit access to an object is indicated, right? So who can view access to event logs or security logs? This is where it is configured, okay? And of course, the DACL has to do with the discretionary access control list, which also specifies the permission for each users or groups on that particular system to a specific object. So if you implement the DACL, you have implemented what we call access control entry. For that access control entry, it defines what each user or group, the type of rights they have to specific object that resides in that system. And of course, we all know for the SAM menu displays the machine SID and part of the system keys. So SAM, as we all know, is known as the Security Account Manager. So this Security Account Manager is like a database collection of all users on that particular machine, which you are using or which this Windows Registry Recovery software has extracted the registry files from. So SAM is also a very important part of analyzing information. And of course, the Windows Registry Recovery provides the menu for this. Now, when you also extract the registry files, you also want to understand that depending on where you are for the registry files that has been extracted, not every of this menu will be indicated. So let's say, for example, if you're in the OS, right? OS has to do with operating system running. So you will definitely not see information such as drivers. There is a purpose for that. Windows Registry Recovery ensures that everything or every compartment of the registry files you're trying to access has a unique information that should be disclosed. And this is one thing that makes the software very awesome software, because it doesn't confuse you, it doesn't complicate issues with you regarding viewing these various files. Also for the Windows installation menu, so this will display the Windows name, the ID of the user, which of course in this case we're talking about the administrator. It will also display the system key and also display the activation key. So the activation key, if you have paid for the Windows operating system, right? This activation key will be displayed as well. So we all know this to be the license key, the activation key, or the product key. This registry software will extract all this information so you can see this information in real time, which of course most of these informations are not visible to you except digging deep into the registry file itself, right? Other informations also the Windows installation would indicate is the last boot and last shutdown time. So this part of the information is very important, especially if you're a malware analyst or a forensic investigator. So let's say you have been called that a system was compromised. Of course, when you extract the registry, you want to understand what has happened, who did what they did. Let's say, for example, the system was shut down by 11 a.m. and the incident was reported by 11:05. Clearly, the hacker who did that just conducted that attack before the investigation was reported within that short time frame. So that information is also a clue that you can work on, or which will serve as a benchmark to further dig informations regarding extracting more evidence in concluding your investigation. And one unique thing about the Windows Registry Recovery as well is that it also discloses when the software was installed. So let's say you install the software on the 5th of September at exactly 9 a.m. It's going to tell you the date, the time, down to the second which the operating system was installed. Secondly, let's say the user or a particular user has changed their password, right? It will also indicate when the password was changed. So if I change my password on the 6th of September, when the Windows operating system was installed on the 5th of September, there's an indication that maybe I'm not the one who did that, someone else did. So as the forensic investigator, I would ask the user, okay, on this day, did you change your password? And if the user says, no, I am not aware of any password change, that's also another benchmark, of gathering evidence that you would use to dig more information in solving the incident or the cyber attack that has occurred on the organization. On the hardware component, it's going to display every information about the hardware, such as the CPU, the monitor, the video and sound, and also the network card. And you can also view this as hierarchies. So it's not about informational. Just like when you check the Windows driver, right? Or hardware information, you will see the battery power, the battery health, the drivers, the memory. Windows Registry is going to extract all these things and also display these informations in this hierarchical order for you to see. So it's not just a software that every forensic investigator should consider, but newbies who are trying to learn about forensic investigation, especially when it comes to memory analysis or registry analysis, they should go for this software. It's highly recommended. Now, the beauty again is that it also provides a menu for startup applications. So when you talk about startup applications, right? When you reboot your system, if you have a lot of softwares installed on that system, most of these softwares will boot up with the system, right? And most of those softwares that boot up might not be legitimate softwares, okay? Let's say, for example, I'm a hacker. I compromised the system that belongs to FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY. Of course, I would put a software that has the capability of what we call a reverse shell. So what is a reverse shell? I would make this software to be so corrupt that whenever FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY computer comes online, it remotely establishes a communication with me. Because FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY is the one communicating to me, the hacker, the system would not recognize this as a malicious attempt, except there is a firewall rule that has been created. So if this communication is not included in the firewall rule, then definitely it's going to flag it as suspicious. And that's one of the beauty of using the Windows Registry Recovery. It's going to extract every information about applications that are set to start up with a machine. And not just that, it's going to tell you the path where these applications are, which makes it much amazing in terms of analyzing the registry of a computer, right? So if you suspect this particular application, you are not aware of the installation, you cannot track where the application is, extract the file, and use online platforms such as Virus Total or a list of the threat hunting tools we have disclosed on our Twitter channel. So you should visit that and see and analyze this malware to see what has been said or what has been reported about this malware. And of course, understand the TTPs of the threat actors. So TTP here means the tactics, the techniques, and the procedures in which the hacker uses in propagating this malware. It can be via malvertising. It can be via social media posts such as clicking malicious links that redirects you to a malicious URL, which is in control of the C2 belonging to the hacker. So the command and control server, that whenever you visit this URL, stealthily, this malware would, anonymously download to your system or your device without your knowledge. So this menu would disclose all those applications that start up with the computer. Then the service and drivers is going to indicate every service and drivers on the system. Okay, so all those drivers that are running currently on the system, the Windows Registry Recovery is going to disclose them. And not just disclosing this service drivers, you can also view the structure in terms of the file path where they are located. And if you suspect there is a particular driver loading, which you're not aware of, you can also visit that path, extract the file. Example, in Windows, you will see most of these files are .dll files, right? And of course, when you extract those files, you also research further, either via their hash values or either via their signature values and other things you can do in terms of gathering information about these files to understand the nature of their operation or to detect if they're actually malicious by nature or not. The network configuration menu. Here you're going to see every network configuration such as the TCP, IP, the client configuration, the Explorer. Everything about your network configuration will be displayed here. So of all the information extracted about the registry files, right, you will be able to see these informations. Now for shell folders are basically folders that resides on the computer. We consider them in Windows as directories, okay? So these can be the picture directory, the documents directory. Windows registry files is going to extract all these directories. And of course, when you extract these directories, you can navigate through them to see the contents of these directories as well. So if there is a malicious file store in there, even if the folder is hidden, as long as it's in the registry, of course, it's going to be readable by this software. And when the software reads it, it's going to extract it as well in the backup sequence. Now, one more thing that I love about the Windows Registry Recovery software for forensic investigator or malware analysts or security researchers is that it also extracts Outlook Express. So let's say a hacker has compromised your organization's network and uses the Outlook Express to send malicious emails to the organization's legitimate customers or clients, right? And perform what we call a beck attack. So beck is business email compromise, right? Where the hacker would pretend to be the organization sending this email, requesting the clients or organization's customers to send money to a designated account. So this is a very large scam that has been going on targeting big organizations, right? And most of these scams are conducted by compromising the organization's internal email accounts, which they use in communicating with their various customers or vendors. They patronize their services. So this is one of the beauty about the Windows Registry Recovery. You will be able to extract every information if the Outlook Express has been configured on that Windows server or Windows operating system. You'll be able to view those accounts and see the settings. Now, summarizing this whole menu, we will have what we call raw data. Okay, so if you want to see the raw data of this whole menu, such as the file information for each of the registry files, right? The Security Record Explorer, the SAM, the Windows installation, the hardware, the startup application, the service and drivers, the network configuration, the Windows firewall settings, environment, shell folders, Outlook Express, and you want to view this as a raw data. Then clicking the raw data menu for each of that registry file you're analyzing will show you the raw data. So for example, when you type regedit, right, you're going to be seeing the H key, the software, the local, all those things are like raw data, in a hierarchy format or tree-like format. Then you can now dig individually to see the binary format of this data, which usually is like zeros and ones, which you can now manipulate if you want to alter those values to either corrupt the registry file or elevate rights in that registry file. So having explained all this, let's demonstrate this Windows registry recovery file and how a forensic investigator will use this tool in extracting evidence in the eventuality of a cyber incident or a malware attack which has occurred on the organization they work for. So to do that, we have to log into our Windows machine. So this is a Windows 10 machine, which we installed. We installed it for the purpose of this demonstration. So the next thing we have to do is we have to download the software, which is the Windows Registry Recovery. So we click and we go to Mitec and we hit enter. So here you can view other applications they offer, but today let's focus on the Windows Registry Recovery, and you can see it's under the forensic tools as well. Okay, so here you can see the order now. We didn't click this, so we have no idea what this is all about. Since we're already here, we will just click on this download. But if you cannot find this, you just come to the forensic tab and just click on this. And we download this. So hopefully by the time we're done today, you will be able to have an idea of what a forensic investigator does. Now, once we are done, we open file location. We can now close our browser. We don't have any use for that. Now here, there are two versions of this software. And this is the update. You can see this is the latest update. They updated this on the 11th of March. So you're having the latest version, okay? And the time frame when it was updated. Now here, once again, we have a two version. So I believe this is for Windows 32. And this, of course, is for Windows 64. And modern technologies do not use Windows 32 anymore, except if you're running Windows XP and you are running it on an old hardware device. Probably you would need this version. So what we need to do is we just drag this here or extract. So this is the version that I need. I don't need to extract everything. So I close this. Now this system, we have two users account here. I show you. We click here. So this is the logged in user. Is FIXITGEARWARE-1, and this is the student account. Okay. Now I show you something first. When you click on this icon, the logged in user is always here. You can see FIXITGEARWARE-1. They will have documents, pictures, and settings, and other users' accounts will be here. So currently we just have this two account, which is FIXITGEARWARE-1 and FIXITGEARWARE. That being said, the next thing you want to do is for you to use the software, you have to run it as an administrator. And of course, our Windows is up to date. It's up to date. So you do not need to worry. It's not a malicious software. They are trusted. They are a very reliable company. And they have been known over the years with their legitimacy and sincerity in terms of what they give out there, not to have malicious intent. And to prove that, I'll be running this as an administrator. You can see if it's malicious, the Windows software would, pick it up. Sorry, Windows malware detector will pick it up. So now we have done this. You can see the banner says free to use for private, educational, and non-commercial purposes. So you should focus on this if you're a commercial user. Ensure you order the software once again. They are very good. and I think they deserve whatever coins or money, coins, not coins anyway. So they deserve every financial benefits they want for this software, okay? And if you're rich, you also need to order. This is a way of supporting them, because if you're going to employ students, if you're going to employ people, they have to know what they are doing for your organization. And the only way they can know about these various events or activities or carrying out these various tasks, such as imaging registries, imaging files, is by having access to softwares. While most organizations are more interested about the money, organizations like these who offer free services, they deserve everything kind they request from the public. And of course, if you're rich enough, you should show some support, okay? So now this is just a blank interface, right? The next thing we want to do is we come to File and we come to Backup Registry. Now, it will give us options. Do we want system registry, current user registry, other user registry? Okay, so as a forensic investigator, when an incident has been reported, it might be the hacker, gain access to the system via an ordinary user, then elevated their rights with a file which the ordinary user has. So you need to back up everything or extract everything. So I suggest you click this. Now, this is the directory where this backup will be stored. One more thing I want to share with you, right? This system is live, so probably you would not have any issues in imaging a live system. So how do you use this software? Let's say this is a system that has been hacked and they fried the motherboard. So the system doesn't come up, but the hard disk is still okay. So what you need to do is, if the system is a SATA hard disk based system, then you get a SATA cable, connect the hard disk as an external drive. As long as the hard disk runs an operating system, when you try to run the Mitec Windows Registry Recovery, it's going to pick that as well. Okay, so now you're now putting the OS of the system to extract this evidence. Okay, also one more thing. As a forensic investigator, some softwares will give you a menu where you can put names or information about the first incident responder team or persons who, were responsible for collecting this evidence. But in this case, we do not have it, right? So here you can just come here and just add, let's say Ben is the guy. Okay, so once I get this extract, of course, it's going to be in a directory, right? I can understand that this evidence was collected on the 6th of September, 2024 by this incident personnel or head team known as Ben. But if you have more than one team, you can also put, specify another name. We can say, okay, Ben FIXIT. So this was collected by Ben and FIXIT. And of course, when you have to document your evidence form, you also have to indicate it. Okay, so Ben, you put in bracket, you specify the full name. FIXIT, you put in bracket and specify the full name. Now, the next thing we want to do, once we have achieved this, we now click OK. Now, you can see this is oscillating, telling us that the registry backup in progress, that we should wait. Now, this would not take time. It should probably take about 10 to 15 minutes, and it's dependent on the level of users on that system or server. Of course, the more users you have, the more information about the registry that needs to be gathered, right? So we'll wait for it. And while we're still waiting for it, I also want you to have an idea that you do not need to, once again, you do not need to close your VirtualBox machine to run only the operating system as a standalone, because we are not running this directly on our computer, but rather on the VirtualBox machine. We did not close our VirtualBox itself. So the VirtualBox and this entire window is running. And the reason why we did not close the VirtualBox machine is because we want this to be able to read the hardware. Okay, so the hardware is very important to be read by this Windows Registry Recovery software. So we will wait, and when it's done, we'll move on to the next stage. And as you can see, the backup is successful, and it tells us the registry backup successfully finished. Do you want to open it? Then we say yes. And you can see this is the entire backup. It's under the document, okay? Now, this is the administrative user, which is FIXITGEARWARE-1, which is the current user logged in, right? And of course, this is the BCD, the boot configuration data, the default, the drivers, the SAM, the security, the software, the system. And you can see how big this is. About 10 megabytes. This is about 68 megabytes. And this is about 44 megabytes. So basically, this is just so little because we do not have much applications installed on this system. So as you install various softwares or you're dealing with big servers or network or organizations infrastructure, the bigger the registry files you need to, back up or extract. But the beauty is that you do not need to be afraid. The Windows Registry Recovery software is capable of extracting no matter how big the registry files are of that particular operating system or server you're trying to extract the information from. Now, we'll just click everything and open everything. It's going to open everything, okay? And you can see, and we say open, and everything's just going to pop up, very fast. And now it's done, right? Everything is like a menu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And each of these files have their unique hash values, okay? No two files have the same hash value. We'll minimize this right now. So let's say one of the files has been tampered with. Definitely the hash value would, differ. For example, let's go to the BCD. Okay, sorry about that. So let's go to system, okay? So this is the system, right? Now, the system pops up. This is the file information. So it's a Windows new technology registry. That is what the software, identify the system to be. It's a new technology registry. And of course, it tells us this is the time last modified. So if we tamper with this file right now, it's going to indicate another time or a different time entirely. And it tells us the hype name is a system, the checksum value. This is very important. The number of keys and loading time about 81 seconds. Now, this is the MD5 value. This is the SHA-1 hash value, and this is the SHA-256 value. So these are very important when you want to verify the integrity of a file. So if a file is corrupted, these values which are documented will not be the same. Okay, so now we're in the system. Let's navigate each menu. So we go to security records. It's going to take some time because we are dealing with the system here. So everything about the system here has to be loaded, right? So probably about 5 to 10 minutes, it should be done. Now you can see, right? These are all the system information, security records, okay? So let's click on this and see it's a root user. And of course, we've seen the ACL and the DACL, right? Now, so this user has access to this object, okay? You can see permissions, right? Okay. Now let's go to the SAM, still on the system. Now we would not see any information because we are not talking about the SAM right now. We're just talking about the system itself, right? Now we go to the Windows installation. We will see a few information. The reason why is that we are not dealing with the software. We are dealing with the system. So it tells us the build lab release. Then here you can see the last boot, 7 p.m. Now, this is based on UTC time. And you can see the machine name is desktop this, okay? And if you click on installed software or hotfixes, we cannot see anything, right? Regarding the Windows installation, right? Now let's click on hardware. You can now see the information here. We have this system is called i7 And the sound, information, the graphics is VirtualBox, the products. Of course, Innotech is the organization responsible for building VirtualBox applications, right? Now, this is where the device map comes in. Now you can see this is last known good. We can now select here and we click on refresh. It's still the same, no changes, right? Now we come here, let's click on current and we click on device map and we click on refresh. Just wait and see. Now we have clicked on device map, right? Let's now click on the tab and you can see here, we can see the audio endpoint. We can set the battery. We can see the CD-ROM, the computer, the disk drive. So here we can now click here and get information, right, about the storage. And let's say we want to see for keyboard, we just click here and we get information, right? You see how beautiful it is with this software. And this makes forensic investigation very easy. And if I don't want to view the map, I can just go to overview. I tick this and I refresh. Real time. Every information that was backed up will be displayed back to me. So let's go to startup application. Now you can see there are no startup application, right? And we go to service and drivers. And this is all the information about service and drivers. Now, assuming we have a suspicious file, we are suspecting, okay? Let's say this guy here, sorry about that. Now, you can see the .dll files, locator.exe. All these are Windows-based softwares. But let's say there is an information I'm looking for, right? So I suspect one of these drivers are corrupt, or there's a driver that the threat actor is using to, exploit the system. I just click on service and driver. I come to file. I can export this. Remember, we previously said about regedit 4, right? And we say export data. So if we click on export data, this is going to export it as a CSV file, which will now use either the Excel or LibreOffice Excel sheet to view this whole data you're seeing here in Excel format. And of course, access each of these information individually to now navigate to the directory where these files, which we are suspecting to be the problem for the compromise, resides. So we can now view that file or extract that file and upload to an online platform that is capable of analyzing this file. So now let's say we want to export this, right? We say export data and we put it on desktop, okay? So let's call this to be drivers, malicious, and we click save. And just like that, with the speed of light, it's been done. And if we go to our desktop, you can see. Now, if we open, I don't need to recover this, okay? Discard all. Okay, the reason why is that I did a testing previously, so everything is gone. I click OK. You can see the title here, right? Now, this is the whole information, right? And we have column A, we have the description. You can see the information. So this is a Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection, and the file name is mssense.exe. So what we do right now, we just click on this. You can see the information, right? Let's say we suspect that this is a malicious file. Now we know this is in the program files. Forget about the populating of the data. That's how this software does it. So, and under the program files, we have the Windows Defender, Advanced Threat Protection, and this is the software we suspect is malicious, right? So as a forensic investigator, what I would do is that I will just come to the file manager. I'll go to the C drive. I'll go to the program files, go to the Windows Defender, Advanced Threat Protection, right? Remember, that's what is stated here. Program files, Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection. Then I'll look for this file. So let's say this is the file. What's the M? MSN. So this executable. You don't need to see .exe. Just look at application. It tells you it's an executable file, right? Now let's say this is the malicious file. I'll just come here. I'll copy this file. and I will paste it on my desktop or whatever drive I have, and I'll just upload it to like Virus Total and analyze the malware. You see? So this is the beauty of using the software. Now, we don't go much deep because it's not a forensic investigation class, and I'm pretty sure this video is exceeding about an hour right now. So let's close this. Don't save. Now, if we head back here, if we click on network configuration, you can see the TCP IP. You can see the enable DHCP is 1. And of course, you should know about the DHCP, which is also known as the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So this enables you to dynamically assign IP address. And for DHCP server, if you're familiar with DHCP server, okay, you should be able to understand how you use the DHCP server for PXE network boot. So for PXE network boot, you can, boot via the network using the DHCP server. Then for Windows firewall settings, let's go to Windows firewall settings. You can see firewall rules, all the firewall rules. We can view them here. We just click on this. So if there is any suspicious configuration, we can also see it here. Let's say, for instance, remote system admin, right? Let's see. Okay, good. Now you can see it false. Okay. Now let's say this has been changed to true. Then there is a clue that something is happening. Someone has, enabled this to happen, and of course, remotely communicate with this system. Now, what else? Let's move on to environment. Here you can see the system32. You can see the processor architecture. So we are using AMD 64. And of course, the temporary directory is system root, the TMP system root, the username system, the number of processors, 2, processor level 6, and what else? Now, this is about the processor identifier. We're using Intel, okay? Now, for shell folder, you wouldn't find any information, okay? Because we are not talking about operating system or directories here. So there is no information you will find here. Now, let's move on to software. We're done with system, so we close system, okay? Now we're in software. We click on information. You can see the hash value is different, okay? This is its own hash value. So if we alter the content here as well, the content will change. And you can see the time when it was, modified. Of course, that was when we backed up the registry, right? Let me show you something. You can see this is for the security. So for security, we have a different hash value, right? 7E2, the ending. And this one is what? 116B2. Okay, so understand this. Now, if we go to security records, we have to wait for a few minutes because we're talking about the operating system here, right? It's still loading because it's quite a lot. And the reason is that we just recently updated the operating system, right? So let's wait for a while. Now you can see this is quite a whole lot of information. Quite a whole lot for the operating system, okay? So we can click on this. We can see the SASL, the DASL, okay? And let's not just go deep into this. This is not a forensic trading. So if we go to the SAM, you wouldn't see any information because we are not talking about the SAM. If we go to the Windows installation, now we would see an information about the whole thing. So you can see the product name here. We have the Windows 10 Pro N. So the Windows 10 Pro N indicates Windows 10 professional version. no media. So this is basically an operating system designed for users who are from the EU. Okay, so when you try to build the OS using the Microsoft software, you would see this if you decide to select this. It means it's going to install the operating system Windows 10 Pro. The media would not be included. So we have the media players, right? And of course, the owner who installed this software. This is the account name. You know, when you install a software, you have to specify a username, right? So this is the owner who installed it. And this is the product ID and the product key. Don't worry, it's not a valid product key because it's not activated yet. So even if you take it, it won't be useful for you. Then for the root, you can see it's sitting in the C drive. The release ID is in 2009. And of course, we have the desktop, right? Now, let's click on installed software. You can see these are the softwares we have installed on the system. So we have the LibreOffice, we have the Microsoft Edge, Notepad, and all that. Now, let's say we suspect that something has been done on this system. So if we click on the software tab and we select the Windows installation, let's say a hacker compromised the system and installed a vulnerable version of a software. We're going to see it here, the version which was installed and the dates. Eventually, we would be able to have an idea. Let's say, okay, these are, you can see all these have the same dates, right? So if we find an upward date in this system, we should have an idea that a new software was installed. We can now call the attention of the administrator of this system to inquire if they did any of such installation. And if they didn't, we can now check on the internet or via every other means of research that particular software, the version, what is vulnerable to. This also serves as a clue in conducting your forensic investigation. Okay, so let's not go deep. And if we click on hardware, we're not going to see much because we're dealing on the software here. And if we click on startup applications, here we would see applications designed to start up with the machine. So here we have the system security health and the location of the file. So if there is a malware here right now, or we suspect a certain file name which is not supposed to be here, we can now assess the directory where this malware is to understand what this malware is all about. And here you can see the VBox tray. So this is for this guy here, the VirtualBox guest edition, okay? And we have the Explorer, which is this when it's initialized. Now let's move on to service driver. You wouldn't see anything here because we're talking about the software here, not the system itself. The network configuration, the same thing. We're talking about the software, which is just the operating system, not the system itself. Then Windows firewall settings, the same thing is going to be blank. Environment, same thing. Shell folders. Since we're talking about the operating system, you know, these folders comes with the Windows OS, right? We have the program data, we have the desktop directory, we have the documents. So if you do not understand this, just look at this place, okay? And we have the start menu, which is this. And what else? We have the templates, we have the musics, we have the pictures, we have the videos, and we also have the OEM links, okay? The OEM, as we all know, is the original equipment manufacturer. So this is where you find information about the software itself. Of course, we know it's manufactured by Microsoft, right? And if we click on the Outlook Express, since there are no Outlook signed in this operating system, we cannot see. But should in case there is an account signed into this, we'll see the account name, the username, if there is a POP3 server, POP3 port, SMTP name, SMTP server, and SMTP email address. All these informations will be disclosed here. And everything we've said here, if we want to see the raw data, we just click on raw data, and you can see for Notepad++, you can see. So if we click on this, we can see It's a root, and the value is 1, which is of course is true. And here you can see the OEM we just described, right? So under OEM, we have the provision state, the keys, the carrier ID, right? And if we go to cellular, you can see device specifics. There is nothing here. So these are the things we can see under the software version. And one more thing I want to show you, if you want integrity test, you can test, you click integrity test, we won't go deep into this. And if you want to find a part, you just click on this and specify the part. If you want to search, you click on this, you specify what you want to search and select if you want to search for keys, values, and data. Okay, now here is for key hash records. You can use this. Now this is for key security information. You can use this. For key properties, you can use this. And if you want to copy the path to clipboard, you select this, okay? So try and learn about this. This is not a forensic investigation training, so we wouldn't go deep into that. Now let's skip this. Let's go to security. Okay, for security records, just these two, right? It doesn't take time. There will be no SAM. There will be no Windows installation. There will be no hardware. There will be no startups. There will be no service drivers, firewall settings. There will be none. Environment, the same thing. Shared folder, the same thing. So there's not much thing done here. We did not implement any security like antivirus. So we can close this. Now, if we go to the SAM, right, you can see its own hash value. If we click on security records, if we click on the SAM, you can see the machine SID. We can see the part of the system key, right? So we can, this, you cannot select this for some reasons. I would not go into that. I would explain this maybe in subsequent trainings. We want to store the password using reversible encryption for all users in the domain, right? So there are no domain here configuration yet. Now let's click on group and users tab. Here we can see all the users, and you can see here for FIXITGEARWARE 1, we can see for FIXITGEARWARE students, and you can see here is our unique identifier. This is when we last logged on. Okay, remember we're using the UTC time here, so forget about that. So this is when we last reset our password. And this is when last we tried the incorrect password. So we tried an incorrect password here once and it was recorded. And the registry holds this value. And for these students, we just created the account. So this is the password. When we created is when we set this password. And there has not been any usage since then, right? So if there has been usage, the registry will pick it up. And of course, this software would extract that information during the backup process. So under the built-in groups, okay, consider this to be default configuration, okay? So I won't go deep into explaining this, but I'll just explain a few. So if you create a user and you assign them an administrator, it means they have administrative rights on the computer or resources that reside on the computer, right? So a user here is just a normal user. They have specific rights, but not above the administrator, okay? So they can conduct specific actions on the system, but not to the extent an administrative user can. So guests is just, let's call them normal visitors. So they just have no much rights. Maybe they can just use the system to browse informations, but not access files, not download files and all that, right? Then for power users have a very elevated rights below the administrator, but above the users and guests. Okay, so for the remote desktop users, these are users who use the system for remote desktop communications, and for Hyper-Vs, for cryptography, for remote management. Remember, we said something about Active Directory, right? So when we're going to configure our organization domain to systems like this, when we eventually start the training, you'll be able to learn about all this. So let's not go deep. Here you can also see the raw data, right? And so the SAM for domain, accounts, built-in groups, names, and users, names, aliases, groups, names. Okay, so we won't go deep into this. And with this, so far we have described, use this tool, okay? As a forensic investigator, if I'm conducting a registry forensics, I know what to do and I know the steps or procedures. But we are passionate in sharing this to you so that you can be able to use these tools, read documents online, and practice at your own free time on how forensic investigations are conducted. So when we come over here, now we're under drivers, right? If we come to security records, it's going to take some time, load all the drivers. So this is it. And if we come to SAM, you wouldn't see anything. Windows installations, nothing. Hardware, nothing. Startup applications, nothing as well. Then service drivers, nothing as well. And if we go to the raw data, here you can see the canonical data. So here we have the derived data, we have the drivers. So this is for AMD 64. You can now view each of this directory to see the contents. Okay, you can see. So we can also copy this hash values and so on. Okay, if you're wondering how, you can see here. Okay, these values, you can copy them. Okay, what else? So let's go to defaults. So for defaults, security records, SAM, nothing, Windows installation, nothing, hardware, nothing, startup, nothing, service, nothing, network, Windows registry, environments. So these are the user profile, right? So we have the app data local Microsoft Windows app, and we have the user profile temp directory. So these are environments under the defaults, right? Which are configured. If there's a new environment, discovered here, you can also access them. So for shell folders, you can find information, right? So here you can read through this, analyze this. If there's anything suspicious you discover, you can now access them individually to extract the information from these various directories or folders. So I close this one. We've spoken about drivers, right? And for BCD, there will be no much information because this is the boot configuration data, right? So there's nothing much we could see. And you can also click on the raw data and view the objects. So these are the various objects, right? Description. Okay, we can click on elements and so on. And if you're wondering, these values are very important. You can copy them. You remember what we told you, right? If you want to do, you can, file, export it as a regedit4 format or as data. Okay, then you copy these values and search about these hash values on the internet to see what is going to be thrown back at you. And of course, you know what to do in terms of assessing where this file, resides. Okay. And that rounds up this week's episode on Tuesday Friday with FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY. And I hope with this demonstration, you've been able to understand the tool Windows Registry Recovery and how to use this tool in conducting your forensic investigation as a cybersecurity professional whose job description focuses more on malware analysis, forensic investigation, or a security researcher who is passionate about researching informations on various malwares and techniques used by malicious hackers. And with that, we would say thank you for watching this video. And please do not forget to give us the goodies by hitting that thumbs up button to give us a like. And also hit the subscribe button to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And hit the notification bell to get the notification turned on so that you'll be the first to get notified when next we publish another episode on Tuesday Friday with FIXITGEARWARE-SECURITY. Thanks for watching and see you next week. Bye for now.